Louis XII, then still Duke of Orleans, was just 14 when he married 12-year-old Jane, the daughter of King Louis XI of France. She was frail, hunched, and lame, a girl whose health left little hope for heirs. For Louis XI, this was perfect. A quiet, childless marriage meant the rival Orleans line would never threaten his royal blood. The marriage lasted over 20 years. Jane was kind-hearted, deeply devoted to her husband, and even stood by him when he was imprisoned. But the moment Louis XII ascended the throne, he rushed to annul the marriage, claiming they had never shared a true union. It was a lie, yet Pope Alexander VI Borgia took the king's side. In this episode, we uncover the strangest, darkest, and most absurd royal marriages in European history. You'll learn how a vengeful lawyer took revenge on the French king who cuckolded him, how the ruler of Tuscany tested his bride's purity in a shocking way, how refusing to marry cost one French king his life, and how Henry VIII rid himself of the wife he despised. But first, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next untold stories of royal love, power, and betrayal.
How could a cuckolded apothecary take revenge on the King of France? In 1514, 19-year-old Francis of Valois married 14-year-old Claude of France, the daughter of King Louis XII himself. The groom was tall, handsome, and athletic, strong as a young Hercules. But his bride was frail, with scoliosis, a limp, and crossed eyes. At the wedding ceremony, even the Spanish ambassador was so shocked by the princess's appearance that he publicly called her ugly. But Francis didn't care about beauty. What truly mattered was power. King Louis XII was 50 and had no male heir.
Claude, his eldest daughter, couldn't inherit the throne under the Salic law, which barred women from ruling France. That meant Francis, as her husband, stood to gain not only her Duchy of Brittany, but, upon the king's death, the French crown itself. "In this person I find nothing appealing," Francis wrote to his sister, Marguerite. "But that's of no importance. I married this little one for the good of the state. As for love, there will always be other women. In fact, I already spend my nights plucking roses of pleasure with the wife of Advocate Dissum." And he wasn't exaggerating. Even after his marriage, and later after his coronation a year later, Francis never gave up his lovers. The writer Brantome, chronicling the late 16th century, claimed the king even encouraged his courtiers to take mistresses and mocked those who didn't, calling them fools. Among his favorites was John Dissum, the wife of a lawyer, the very woman mentioned in his letter. Their affair had begun long before his royal marriage and continued afterward. According to Francis's sister, Marguerite of Navarre, one of France's first female authors, the young king once sneaked into his lover's house through a nearby monastery. He claimed he came to pray, but his real devotion lay elsewhere. According to one version of events, Advocate Dissum pretended not to notice his wife's affair with the king. But another story claims otherwise, that upon discovering her betrayal, the furious lawyer deliberately infected himself with syphilis in a brothel, planning to pass the disease to his wife, and through her, to the King of France himself. Years later, rumors whispered through the royal court that Francis I died in 1547 from the same affliction, and that Queen Claude's early death might have been its tragic consequence. After 10 years of marriage, Queen Claude, gentle, kind, and beloved by all, died at only 24, suffering from the Neapolitan disease. She had borne the king 7 children, and her loss was deeply mourned. She was a pearl among women, wrote the chronicler Brantome long after her death. Thank you for watching and helping us grow, and now our story takes us to Tuscany. How did the ruler of Tuscany test his bride's virginity? Ferdinand de' Medici, the younger son of Grand Duke Cosimo I, was destined for the church. At just 14 years old, he had already been named a lay cardinal. But fate intervened. His elder brother died without an heir, and the throne of Tuscany suddenly became his. Determined to secure his state's independence through a powerful alliance, Ferdinand chose as his bride Christina of Lorraine, his distant cousin and granddaughter of Queen Catherine de' Medici. Orphaned young, Christina was raised by her grandmother at the most scandalous royal court in Europe, Paris. Their wedding in Florence on May 3, 1589, was a spectacle of splendor. The bride arrived with an immense dowry, 600,000 scudi in silver, and claims to the Duchy of Urbino. But on their wedding night, the Duke's curiosity turned peculiar. According to Brantome, Ferdinand demanded proof of his bride's chastity. He ordered Christina to relieve herself into a beautiful crystal chamber pot, transparent of course, while the court physician examined her urine to determine whether she was pure. After careful study, the doctor solemnly declared, "The young lady is as untouched as the day she was born. Your grace may proceed without fear." And he did. By morning, Ferdinand was delighted, exclaiming, "It's a miracle! From the most licentious court in France, she came to me untouched."
The French prince Henry could only hope to become king if both his older brothers died, a possibility that seemed unlikely. So his ambitious mother sought to secure him a crown through marriage. The first candidate was none other than Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen of England, 18 years older than the young prince. The second was Princess Anna Jagiellon of Poland, 28 years his senior, whose hand was required if he wished to claim the Polish throne. And then there was Catherine of Guise, his equal in age and spirit, the daughter of the powerful Duke Francois of Lorraine, a proud, fiery woman who tried to win Henry's heart, but he rejected her. Obeying the will of his family, Henry traveled to Poland and became king of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Yet he delayed his marriage to Anna Jagiellon, and when word arrived that his brother, King Charles IX of France, had died, Henry abandoned his Polish crown and returned to France. There he married Louise of Vaudémont, a princess of the House of Lorraine. But a scorned woman is a dangerous enemy. Catherine of Guise, now married to the much older Duc de Montpensier, never forgave Henry for humiliating her. She soon became the inspiration behind the ultra-Catholic opposition and the soul of every conspiracy against the king, whom radical Catholics despised for his tolerance towards Protestants.
Anonymous letters, pamphlets, and mocking caricatures flooded France, while the king himself only fueled the fire, appearing at masquerades dressed in women's clothes and surrounded by his infamous mignonne, the royal favorites. In 1588, Paris, inflamed by the Catholic League, rose in open rebellion against him. A royal envoy was sent to Madame de Montpensier with a warning. "The king believes you are the cause of all his troubles. He swears you'll burn alive." Her reply was venomous. "Let him beware. It is sinners of his kind who burn, not I." On August 1st, 1589, King Henry III was assassinated by a fanatical monk. When the news reached the Duchess, she embraced the messenger and cried out, "Ah, my friend, tell me it's true. The traitor, the tyrant is dead. God bless you. My only regret is that he died without knowing it was I who killed him." Historians believe she might have been telling the truth. And now to England. King Henry VIII had 6 wives. British schoolchildren still memorize a grim little rhyme to remember their fates. Divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. Among his potential brides was the tall Queen Mary of Scotland, who, when offered his hand, dryly replied, "I may be tall, but my neck is short." After the death of his 3rd wife, Jane Seymour, the only one to give him a son, Henry was aging, overweight, and plagued by disease. Yet he still sought a new wife to secure another heir. But even long before dating apps, expectations often failed to match reality. When Henry chose Anne of Cleves, he did so based on her portrait, a gentle, graceful maiden painted by a flattering artist. In reality, she was large, plain, and nearly as robust as the king himself. When Anne finally arrived in England in January 1540, Henry took one look and recoiled in horror. "What is this Flanders mare?" he exclaimed. "God help me, I cannot bear to look at her." Still, Anne of Cleves was luckier than most of Henry's wives. Within 6 months, the marriage was annulled, but Henry granted her a generous settlement and treated her as a friend for the rest of his life. In Provence, Count Raymond had 4 daughters, and each would wear a crown. Their intertwined destinies in the 13th century inspired historian Nancy Goldstone's book, 4 Queens, a tale of ambition, intrigue, and the women who ruled Europe's most dangerous century.